Hey there, Scorpio. Welcome to your June 2015 tarot reading. So I created my own spread and I picked 4 cards to symbolize 4 different energies. The first one being the energy coming into June. And for you, I picked the Knight of Cups. And taken literally, the Knight of Cups can refer to a young man in his late teens through mid-30s, you could even say around 40, with the kind of extended adolescence we have nowadays. And this is a poetic guy, a romantic guy, but if too much of the shadow side comes into play, this can be a charlatan, someone who is conning a woman in a romantic sense. And it relates to Pisces energy. So it can be dreamy, but it can be deceptive. And as I said, this could be taken literally to mean that you will be dealing with someone like this, and because it's the energy coming into the month, it may have already occurred. It could be love at first sight. It's a very romantic kind of card. But this is the fantasy-like sort of vibes that are kind of permeating your consciousness at this time, or it could be advice that you need to develop this more in your life, that you're being too much nose to the grindstone, very practical but not idealistic enough, and that sort of thing. Because the second card I picked relates to the first half of June, and that card was the Two of Pentacles in reverse. And when I see the descriptions of the upright and the reversed, they're somewhat similar. And you know, the card shows, at least the Rider-Waite deck shows the juggler with these 2 coins. Pentacles refer to money or other material goods, and they're also sometimes called coins. And he's juggling them, but it's not something burdensome. It's almost like a sport, and he's enjoying what he's doing. And this relates usually to one's work and finances, that you are maybe in some kind of a dualistic situation, maybe working 2 jobs, maybe you're starting a new business and you still are working at the place that you just go to pick up a paycheck, but you really are starting this labor of love, and you're doing these at the same time. But whatever it is, it's not something that you feel is tiresome. It might be hectic though, and you may be very busy. You may be a little bit of a spendthrift, and you know, you have to watch out for that. But you know, I don't feel like I should be lecturing Scorpios about this, because you tend to be very thrifty people as it is. And so I don't think that this goes along with what you guys would typically do. But in any case, there is that state of flux going on, and this Knight of Cups is in the picture as well. So, you know, make sure that you're not, you know, getting swept off your feet and some playboy, or he wants a sugar mama, or, you know, I mean, I'm making this about a man and a woman. You know, obviously I'm being, you know, heterocentric, but, you know, you can apply just the male and female energy to any type of coupling and get the same result. But basically, it's funny because I don't see Scorpios getting played too often either, because you're usually very shrewd people and you can spot phonies, you can see below the surface and that sort of thing. I think the only Achilles heel that you have is with sexual attraction and sexual relationships, that you can get so caught up in them that you lose your head. That's the only area. And I'm not saying that, you know, Scorpios are always, you know, are being promiscuous, but, you know, you tend to take sex very seriously, and I could see a Scorpio allowing themselves to get played because they confuse sex with love and they're totally into it. So, for what that's worth. And then in the second half of June, the third card that I drew to represent the second half of June was the Death card. And, you know, thinking of Scorpio and the Death card is often misunderstood because people generally are afraid of death. And first of all, it doesn't, you know, literally mean death in terms of you losing your life or even somebody close to you losing their life. What it usually means is major change is underfoot. And I sense that June will be a game changer for you, Scorpio, and that you will look back on 2015 and maybe see June as a turning point, because the last card that I picked to sum up the month overall was the Tower in reverse, which is another change agent, and this time of the more shocking variety. And I think that in its upright position, it's safe to say, or it's fair to say, that that would be a card that might be a little bit unnerving to see. In the reverse position, it's more of a cushioned change or shock, not so startling as in its upright position. People don't like reversed cards, but sometimes the reversed card is actually the more positive interpretation. And this is one example of that. And so it could be that in the second half of June, with the Death card, that your life changes significantly in some way, but it's something that injects new life into you. Scorpio is a fixed sign. Fixed signs typically don't like change. It might be very fearful for a Scorpio person to have their food dish moved, you know, so to speak. But sometimes the universe or your higher self wants you to stop clinging to the known, and certain things happen and you're actually creating it for yourself on a higher level that you're not consciously aware of. So it's not happening to you, you're actually the person doing it, but you just are not aware of it at this level. And so if you guys can just hold on to your hats and just ride the changes and not freak out, I think you'll do fantastically. As a matter of fact, if you've been following anything on YouTube about ascension, which is something that is being talked about in New Age circles, where our DNA is getting an upgrade, there's all kinds of material related to this. But basically, we're moving into a higher vibratory rate. And the one thing that holds us back is a fear of change, wanting things to stay the same. That will do people in. So the more that you can just go along with whatever happens and not lose your equanimity, the better off that you'll be. But basically, I think that you might actually be experiencing a lot, you know, if you've been single and you've been thinking that you want a love of your life, you might find it in the Knight of Cups. I possibly was a little bit too much on the downsides of a Knight of Cups, but I should have also touted love at first sight, because that is one of the things that is attributed to this card. And so you could have already met your soulmate in recent weeks, and this energy is going into June. But I think that also there might be some of this change happening because we have Saturn retrograding into Scorpio starting in mid-June. And so right now it's already in retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius in the very early degrees, but it will officially dip back into Scorpio. mid-month, and that could affect particularly Scorpios, I would say, within the last week or 5 days. Maybe from about November 16th to the 21st or 22nd. That's kind of a wide orb, but something of that nature. And so whatever lessons that you have to really get right this time, you will. And while it's going back into Scorpio, you might be revisiting some of those issues. So I think I'm going to leave it here, Scorpio. I hope you got something from this. And stay tuned, because in the very near future, I'm going to be posting July forecasts for your sign. Take care, you guys.